Uh, Hello, everybody. Um, uh, Welcome to the second session of Android Study Jams that DSC SNU is hosting. I'm so happy to see you guys back here today. And thanks a lot for joining in. And today's session is going to be about programming concepts and the Kotlin language. So we'll also have, a couple of polls tonight. I think people enjoy voting, and I'd like to mention that the question answer session that we are going to have at the end today, we are going to have it in Bevy itself. We won't use the link that I have provided. I provided yesterday for question answer sessions. Uh, you will still get the link for polling, but please keep in mind that all the Q&A today is going to be right here in the Bevy platform. Okay, so let's get started. So I think I'm gonna start with a question here. So what's your favorite programming language? And this is again going to be a live poll. So I request Meg to send the link in, and you guys can go and share. So you guys can have a minute for that. So your answers will be right there on the screen, hopefully. Okay, we have C, Java, Flutter. Okay, somebody hates programming. I don't know why they are attending the sessions. C++. Python, yeah, Python. Many people would be, having Python as their favorite language. Dart. You and I like Dart. Ruby. Oh, we have somebody with Ruby here. I've heard a lot about Ruby, but I've never used it. So nobody's mentioning JavaScript. I don't know why is that. So personally, my choice, like my favorite programming language is JavaScript. I'm a web developer primarily, so that's the reason. Oh, so yeah, somebody's there with JavaScript. Brain fog too. That's nice. Okay, I think we should carry on now. Good amount of polling already. So it's time that we dive in and answer this question. So what is Kotlin? So Kotlin is a modern and a high-level programming language. It was started as a project by JetBrains back in 2010, and it was made open source in 2016 when its 1.0 version was released. So JetBrains is a company that makes IDEs and developer tools like Android Studio and IntelliJ, PHP Storm, WebStorm, all of the developer tools. So yeah, let's carry on. There are some you know there are some key benefits that because of which developers prefer Kotlin over Java. So the first one is that Kotlin is a very expressive and concise language. So whatever you want to make, you won't have to write long, too much of code to get, get your work done. And it reduces the amount of boilerplate code that you need to write in your projects. Second is Kotlin helps you write safer code. So your code will be less error prone. The third one is Kotlin is 100% interoperable with Java, which means you can call any and all kinds of Java functions right from your Kotlin code. So if you already have an existing Android app, you can keep that and build upon that using Kotlin. Another key benefit that Kotlin offers is structured concurrency. So many of you might not be able to understand what structured concurrency is right now. So it's in simple terms, Kotlin gives you it makes it easier for you to handle background tasks like image processing or network calls or accessing local data, which is very common in mobile apps. Okay, so because of these kind of features that Kotlin offers, Kotlin has gained traction in the industry and has become the fourth most loved programming language according to Stack Overflow. And around 60% of professional Android developers they use Kotlin for making their apps. So I keep on saying that Kotlin code is concise and safe. So I'll explain why I keep saying that. So first, I'll explain the Java code that we have. So first of all, um, both these pieces of code they output hello world to the console. So in the Java code, we have to define a class, and inside of that class, we have a main method, and inside of that, we have to call print line method on an object called system.out, and then we're able to print hello world to the output console. Whereas in Kotlin, we just have the main function wherein we call the print line function and it prints hello world to the output console. So here we can see that in Kotlin we just need 3 lines, and in Java we need 5 lines to accomplish the same task. So you might be thinking that what's the difference if we the number of lines just differ by 2. So think about this. When you have very large code base, so let's take this ratio of 3 to 5. And let's think if we have a code base with 30,000 lines and another one with 50,000 lines, it's very obvious that the one with 30,000 lines is going to be easier to maintain. And the lesser the number of lines you have, the lesser the codes will be. Uh, so the developers won't have to spend too much time maintaining the code, and it will save a lot of money for the company too. And what makes Kotlin safe? So there is a keyword in many programming languages called null. We also have that in Java. So null is basically an entity that represents complete absence of any kind of value. So you can assign a value of null to any variable inside of Java, but you cannot do that inside of Kotlin. So if you want to explicitly give a value of null to any variable in Kotlin, you will have to specify that that particular variable can have the null value. So that is the feature that helps Kotlin to be much safer compared to Java. Okay. All of this relate to Android development. Back in 2017, Google announced that Kotlin would be another officially supported language on the Android platform. Later in 2019, Google announced that Android development would become increasingly Kotlin first. So all the new tools and libraries that will be released will be first made available in Kotlin and maybe later in Java. So within these last few years, Kotlin has made its way in the Android developer ecosystem, and over 70% of the top 1,000 Android apps, they use Kotlin. And as I mentioned earlier, 60% of professional Android developers, they use Kotlin. So I think there has never been a better time to start learning Kotlin to take advantage of the latest features on the Android platform. On that note, let's dive in and look at the basics of what Kotlin code looks like. Okay, so what does everyone think that this piece of code does? I'd like some participation from the audience. Okay, we have, okay, prints. Yeah, this piece of code prints hello world. It's very obvious if you have even a little programming knowledge. Okay, so this is the same piece of code. You guys might have already used some other programming language. So what are the things that you notice about Kotlin that are similar or different from the programming language that you have used before? You guys can unmute yourself and speak up. I'd like that. Yeah, so the first major difference that you can see is you don't have to use semicolons. So in Kotlin, semicolons are optional, and it is suggested that you don't use semicolons in your code because it's just gonna make your file larger. Yes, the syntax looks somewhat similar to C. Right now, it looks similar to C, but as we get into it, you'll find out that it's a bit different. Yes, the definition of function, it looks similar right now, but we'll find out soon. So I'd like to point out that every Kotlin program requires a main function, and a function in Kotlin is defined using the fun variable, and it is followed by the name of the function. And after that, we have these braces inside which we can put arguments that we need in the function. And between these curly braces, we have the function body. So here we have the print line, hello world. So the main function in Kotlin can take the args as an input, which is an array of strings. So an array is somewhat like a list, but they're not the same. Please keep that in mind. But these input arguments in the main function, they are completely optional, and you should omit them if you don't require them in your code. Okay, so I'm gonna just give me a sec. Okay, so there's some activity in the chat box. Aren't methods and functions the same? Okay, so functions, methods are functions, but so is it okay if I explain it a bit later? Yeah, so Sanskar has mentioned that a method is defined for an object. Okay, so let's carry on now. So I'll be taking you guys through, understanding Kotlin using this website. It's uh, it's created by JetBrains itself. So let's get started. So we already learned about this hello world function. So we're gonna get to variables directly. Um, is the text visible, you guys? Can you please let me know?
Siddharth, if you can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Um, okay, give me just a second. I think I can make it bigger. Is it visible now? Guys?
Yeah, Siddharth, you can go on.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this first line. So we have this keyword. Okay. Let's run the program. Okay. So we have the keyword var here. And so var is a keyword that you use to declare a mutable variable in Kotlin. So this is the name of the variable, that's a. And here we have the type definition for the a variable, and we are assigning a value of initial, so it's a string, to this variable. So in the next line, did you guys get it? Okay, I'm going to continue. So we are printing the value of a here, and then we have another keyword, val. So val is used to define, to declare immutable variables. So once you initialize the variable, you cannot assign another value to it. So here we have immutable variable b, and its data type is integer, and we are assigning a value of 1 to it. And then we have val c equals to 3. So here we don't specify the integer data type, and Kotlin compiler is smart enough that it can infer the value of c here. Okay, so excuse me. Here we have variable e, it's a mutable variable, and it's an integer. So what do you guys think will happen when we run this line of code? Any guesses? Okay, yeah. So yes, we'll get an error because we have declared the variable e, but we haven't given it a value yet. So if we try to read it, we'll get this following error: variable e must be initialized. So please keep in mind, before you try to read the value of any variable, it has to initialize. So you can do it like this. So first you have initialized a variable, declared a variable, and based on some conditions, you can initialize it later on, and then you can read it. But if you go otherwise like this, you'll get an error. Okay, let's get to functions now. Did everybody understand what I just explained, guys? Please just say yes or no.
Siddharth, actually, they cannot
Yeah,
unmute themselves. They are typing yes in chat box.
yeah. I'm looking at the chat box. It's so yeah, in the chat box only. Okay, so let's start with functions. So in I guess everybody knows what functions are and why they are useful. So I'll just get right to it. So we are using the fun keyword here to declare a function, and then we have its name. So the name is print message here. And then inside these parentheses, we have the argument or parameter, whatever you want to say, message, and it has the data type string. So Kotlin has this way of um, declaring the data types. You write the name of the variable and then a colon and then the data type. So we have this function called print message that takes in a message, which is a string, and the return type of this function is unit. So I think everybody is familiar with void, the void keyword. It's present in C, is there in Java too. So unit is similar to void. It's not exactly same, but it's something similar. So it basically says that this function is not going to return a value that is useful. And inside this function, in the body of the function between these curly braces, we have print line, which is going to print the message that we get. Okay, now I'll skip this for a moment. We have another function declaration here, sum, and this is the way you guys can have multiple inputs. So x, which is an integer, and y, which is again an integer, and the return type of this sum function is an integer. So in order to be able to return a value from the function, you use the return keyword. Excuse me. So we'll have, okay, so I think you guys understand this. Okay, so we have another function declaration here, and this function is for multiplication. It again takes x and y as integer inputs, and this syntax is a bit different from what you guys might have seen until now. So in this function, what we are doing is we are taking in two arguments and we are performing a basic calculation on it and just returning the value. Exactly what we did in the sum function. So Kotlin has this nice feature inside, using which you can declare this function. You won't need the curly braces. Just write an equal to, and the value that you want to return will be, on the right hand side of this equal to sign. So this function will return x times y. We can do something similar with the sum function. So we can write it like this. I think you guys get it. So yeah, we can write the sum function like this. Let's just remove it for now. So when I run this, we'll get hello 3 and 8. So let's get to this function. So here we have print message with a prefix. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, why is this happening? Okay, this is not visible. So here we have print message with a prefix, and we have two arguments, message, which is a string, and prefix, which is a string again. And this function is going to return unit. I think you guys can see that because we are not returning any value from here. And so, okay, so this is a string template. You guys, I'll get to it later on. So okay, so let's continue now. I'm not going to discuss infix functions and operator functions right now. It's a bit, we can do it later on. So another feature that Kotlin and many other languages have is if you have a function and you don't know how many arguments or parameters that you're going to receive, or somebody else is going to put inside the function call. So what you can do is you can use this vararg keyword, and so you'll have a vararg messages, and each of the message will be a string. So vararg messages. So the messages, when you run the code, it will be something like an array. So you'll be able to access each of the the arguments that the function call inside that array, and you will be able to, perform calculations on each one of them. So that is where we use vararg. If it's not clear when we'll actually use it, you will understand it. So I'm just gonna get to control flow now. Okay, so we have a question from Lakshman Akash here. He's asking, multiply function did not have a return type, right? So yes, the multiply function did not have a return type. And I mentioned earlier that in Kotlin, you don't have to specify the return type, as the compiler itself is smart enough to infer, what a variable is going to be or what a function is going to return. But there will be cases wherein you'll have to necessarily give the, specify the data type. Okay, so now we are on control flow. So control flow is basically, so you don't necessarily, so when you have a piece of code and you want to alter the behavior from the user or something like that, so you have to control the flow in which the code is executed. So that is why it's called control flow. And for that, every language has its own features. And so we are going to discuss the features we have for control flow in Kotlin. So first we have the when statement. So you guys might be familiar with switch statement, which is there in almost every other language you come across. So let's look at this function here. So we have this function cases, and inside of there, we take a parameter called object. So we can call it object, and its type is any. So any type is basically the object can hold any type of value. It might be a string, it might be a number, I'm sorry, it might be an integer, it might be a long integer, it might be some object, it can be anything. So in this we have when. Instead of switch, we have when here, and inside the braces we put the object, and we have the individual cases. So in the case where equal to 1, so this piece of code will be executed. So 1 will be printed in the console. If the object is equal to a string hello, it will be print line greeting. And similarly, in this case, object is long. So the is keyword is used to see if if the object is long. So it's used to test the data type. So if we have a string, so object is long, so that will be false. So this won't be executed here. And then we'll have object is not a string. So if the object is not a string, then this code will be evaluated. And if none of these conditions are met, the else block will be evaluated, which is print line unknown. And here we have cases hello. So this, okay, let's run the program and look at it. It's taking a while, I don't know why. Excuse me. Okay, so here we have, so first one's greeting, one long, not a string, and unknown. Okay. So similarly, we have when expressions. So you might be used to, this type of code, but we can also do another thing. So if we have return a value based on what case is getting triggered. So we have this object here. If it's equal to 1, this string 1 will be assigned to the result. And if similarly, if the object is equal to hello string, 1 will be assigned to result. And if the object is long, the result will have a false value. And if none of these cases are triggered, the else block will kick in and result will get a value of 42. And then this function is going to return the result. Okay, so now we are going to talk about loops. Did everybody understand? Guys, did everybody understand? Uh, okay, I think people are not able to see my screen. I'm going to share my screen again. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, just a second. Is it visible now? Can I? Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about loops now. So Kotlin supports all kinds of common for while and do while. So here we have an immutable variable called cakes, and this is a function. Its name is list of. You can see that, and we can input any number of arguments in here. So this is where the var keyword we discussed about comes in handy. So the creator of this function wouldn't know how parameters that we are going to pass. It can be any number of parameters. So he must have used the var keyword and made the function like that. So here we have passed carrot, cheese, and chocolate. So this function will return an immutable list containing these three elements. So let's run the code. Can you guys see the output? I don't think I'll be able to increase its size. I'm sorry for that. I can zoom in a bit. Okay, so let me explain the for loop here. So this for loop is a bit different from other languages like C and so we have this cakes. So we have for, first of all, we have for, and inside these parentheses, we have cakes. So this cakes is the list we have here, and cake in cakes. This means that we are selecting um, each, each of the elements out of this list one by one and assign it to cake. So first we'll select carrot. So the variable cake will hold the value carrot, and then then this line will be executed. So yummy, it's a carrot cake, and then cake will be reassigned with cheese. So it'll print yummy, it's a cheesecake, and likewise for chocolate. So this is a very clear syntax. You won't have to unnecessarily update, the in C and Java we have int I, and then we have to update it after each iteration. So this is very simple way if you want a for loop. So we have, okay, let me just zoom out. Okay, so while and do while. So while is exactly the same, and so is do while. You just write the while state. I'm sorry, the while keyword, and inside of these parentheses, cakes eaten is smaller than 5, and until this expression evaluates to false, this loop is going to repeat itself. And similarly for this do while, so it will you know execute these lines of code, and it'll check the condition and go on until the condition is false. Okay, so iterators, we can talk about them a bit later. This is a bit advanced. Okay, let's carry on with ranges. So Kotlin has this, you know, it has a very nice syntax if you want a range. So, for example, we want, let's take an example. So if we want to generate a random number between a range, then we can specify the range just like this. So from 0 to 3, we want a random number from 0 to 3. So the range can be defined like this. So let's take an example of the for loop. So for I in 0 to 3, so it's a range. So I will get the value, you know, first we will get 0 and 1, then 2, and then 3. And it will print accordingly. So first let's run the function and let's see what the output is. So yes, it prints 0. Let me zoom in just a second. Yeah. So it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. And in the second loop we have here I in 0 until 3. So when we use 0 until 3, we'll get 0, 1, 2, but not 3. So just like we have here in this output, so it will be from 0 to 2, but 3 will be excluded. Then we have here for loop for I in 2 to 8 and step 2. So what this step does it's basically by how much uh, will the I be incremented after each iteration of the loop. So as we can see in the output, we have 2, 4, 6, and 8. So it's increasing by a value of 2 after each iteration. And in the last for loop, I in 3 down to 0. So when you want to go from 3 to 0, you'll not use the 3 dot dot 0, but you'll use 3 down to 0. So we have 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay. So character ranges are supported. So if you want to print each alphabet, so you can write, C in A to Z, and you'll be able to print all of the alphabet like that. You can also go in the reverse direction from Z to S, and you can also use the step statement here. Okay, so we can also use ranges for checking stuff. So if we need to see if a particular variable is in a range, so in this case we want to see if x is in between, well, from 1 to 5. So if the x has any values from 1 to 3 or 3, 4, or 5, then this statement will be executed. And x not in 6 to 10, then this statement will be executed. Did everybody understand what I just explained about ranges? It's a bit different, so I just want to be sure. Guys? it's pretty easy if you just give it another go. Okay, so let's move on to equality checks. So there are two types of equality checks that you can go go for in Kotlin. So in the first one we have double equal to, and in the second one we have triple equal to. So double equal to is for structural comparison between two variables, and triple equal to is for referential comparison. So let me explain what I just said. Here, the immutable variable authors is a set. So a set, I think all of you might know what a set is. So it contains some number of elements, and they are not ordered. So we will have a set of 3 strings here, and they are names of English authors, I think. So we have Shakespeare, Hemingway, and Twain. And we have another one, writers. So that's Twain, Shakespeare, and Hemingway. So these two sets are equivalent sets because they have the same elements. So when we print authors is double equals to writer, so it will check if these two sets are equivalent. So yes, they are equivalent, so it will print true. But when we use authors is triple equals to writers, so Kotlin is going to check if this variable authors and this variable writers, if both of them are referring to the same object in memory, only then it will print false. So let's see. So yes, uh, the first one is true. So we can see that these two variables do not refer to the same points in memory. Okay, did you get the triple equal to, guys? Did you understand triple equal to, or should I explain it once again? You might not use it, so it's okay, I guess. Okay, let's get to conditional expressions.
Someone asked
Yeah,
for you to explain again.
somebody wants to say something?
Someone asked to explain it again.
Sanskar?
Hello, can you hear me?
Siddharth, you have to explain the triple equals again, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So when we have objects, in case of objects, so a list or an array or even a set, so they are objects, and objects are stored in variables. So they are not stored in variables, they are stored in memory, and we have the reference to those objects. The reference is stored. So first here we have a set of these 3 guys, and so we are basically storing the reference to this set in authors, and we are creating another set. It contains the same guys, and that reference is assigned to writers. So when we use double equal to, um, uh, the set will be each of the two sets will be compared, and if they have exactly the same elements and the same number of elements, then it will be true. But if we use triple equal to, so what we are checking is that if authors and writers, both the variables are pointing to sets, I mean the same set. So here we are creating a set and assigning it to author, and here we are creating another set, assigning it to writers. So they should evaluate to false because they don't point to the same memory location. So if we have here we have a variable guys and we assign it this uh, authors, and then we have print line guys equals to authors, and guys is triple equal to authors. So the first one will be true and the second one will be true as well. So we can check that. So yes, that is the case. So this is because we are storing the reference the set we have created here in this guys variable. So is it clear now? Please respond in the chat box.
Yeah, it's clear. He said it's clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on now. We have conditional expressions. So in most of the languages, we have a ternary operator. In Python, we don't. In Kotlin, in Kotlin also, we don't have a ternary expression operator, I'm sorry. Instead, we have a conditional expression. So it's just like an if-else block. So here we have this function max. It will return the higher of the two values that we pass in, and so if a is greater than b, a will be returned, else b will be returned. So we could have written it like this. So a is greater than b, a else b. So if it were any other language like C or even Java, we can write it like this. But in Kotlin, we need to use this conditional expressions. So let's see. 99 is going to be the output. Okay. So please note that the if expression, if is an expression here. It's not, just a keyword. So it's going to return a value, and that is why it's an expression. Okay. Let's now talk about the productivity boosters. Okay, so we talked about functions and how they have arguments. So if we have a function which accepts, a lot of arguments, then it will be very difficult for you to remember at what position which argument should go. And for other developers, it will be like almost impossible. They will have to go back to the function definition and see at what position which argument should be put. So Kotlin has this very nice feature wherein, so let's wherein you can use named arguments. So we have this function. I'll explain it by this example. Its name is format, and it's going to format your name into an email ID. So it accepts Mario, that may be your username, and the example.com. So we can use my name Siddharth at gmail.com. So it formats it like this. Siddharth at gmail.com will be the output. And in this case, we need to format the same thing, but the position of the arguments is, reversed. In this case, the output that it will produce is this, and domain.com at username, and that's incorrect. So to avoid this kind of confusion, Kotlin has this feature wherein you can use the name of the argument. So in the function, the first argument's name must be username. And so we can use that username equals to foo. And the domain, so the second argument must be called domain. And we can assign bar.com to it. So That way we can avoid any kind of confusion, and the function will still give you the expected output. And we can also alter the positions of these arguments, as they don't really depend on the position, as we are directly assigning to them. So let's see the output here. So first we have Mario at example.com. Then we have the logically incorrect output, that's domain.com at example. Let me just zoom in. Then we have foo at bar.com and pepe at frog.com. So here we can see that we have interchanged the positions of the arguments, but as we are using named arguments, it's easy. You won't get a logical error there. So you can use named arguments. It's a good feature. Okay, let me zoom out. Okay, so while I was explaining functions to you initially, we came across this string templates, and I skipped that part. So let me explain it here. So we have this immutable variable greeting. So I'll stop saying immutable variable. I think you guys know it by now. I just say variable. There's this variable greeting, Kotliner. So people who code in Kotlin or who use Kotlin are Kotliners, I guess. So here, when we want to use so if you want to print hello Kotliner, so in any other programming language, you'll do it like this: hello and then a space, and then maybe add the greeting. You will do it like this in Java, but in Kotlin, what we can do is we can directly use the dollar symbol we have and refer to the variable. So when we write hello $greeting, the value of greeting will be directly substituted in this string. So we'll have hello Kotliner. And in this statement, we have hello $, and inside of the curly braces, we have greeting dot to uppercase. So here, if we want to, perform any kind of a calculation or call any kinds of functions or evaluate an expression, then we will have to put that particular code inside of these curly braces so that it will evaluate that particular code block, and the value that it gets will be substituted in the string. So let's run this piece of code. And okay, so we have hello Kotliner, and we have this hello Kotliner with uppercasing. Okay, so let's move on now. Did everybody get this? It's pretty easy, and it's a really good feature. I think everybody is going to use it, and we'll be using it while we make our Android apps too. Okay, so now we are guys, are you able to listen to me? Nobody is responding now. Okay. Yeah.
Sending messages. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, please stay responsive. Otherwise, I don't have any other way to, see if you guys are there or not, or am I audible? Okay. So let's get to destructuring now. Just a second. Okay. Structuring is, very useful for now, but let me just introduce you to, structuring. So it's very simple in terms of the syntax you use. So we have this array of, so like we had the list of function previously, which produces a list of the arguments we pass. We have array of. So arrays and lists are very similar, but they are different. Yes. So we have 5, 10, and 15. So this will return an array containing these 3 elements, and it can be assign to, any, maybe just some variable. But if you want to assign it to 3 different variables, then you can do it like this. So put them in curly braces, separate them with commas, and these the 5, 10, and 15, they'll be individually assigned to X, Y, and Z. So here, the indices of the elements is very important. So if you switch Y and Z, then Z will get the value of 10 and Y will get the value of 15. So keep that in mind. So here we have variable map. So this is a new function, map. So a map is, I think I'm going to explain what a map is. So map is basically an object in which you can have a key and a value. So you can use the key inside that object to access the value. So for example, we have this map here. So if we want to see that, what do we have so Alice is, the key, and the value is 21. And likewise, Bob is the key and the value is 25. So a map will look something like this. So we have Alice, and then we have this 21, and then we have Bob, and we have 25. So I think it's the name and age of 2 people. So map is something like this. So using destructuring, what we can do is we can say in curly braces, we have name and age inside of a map. So we can use those variables directly in the for loop, and it will print the name and age. So we are again using string templating here. So this is a very handy use case. So this is another way that we can use destructuring. Okay, I think that's enough. And then okay, this is smartcast. It's not very necessary right now. Okay, so that is it for Kotlin right now. So okay, I would like to just introduce you guys with classes and objects. So you will need classes heavy, and you will need and use classes very heavily in while developing the Android apps. So class is like a blueprint which contains all the instructions on how to create something and how something has to work. So let's say we have the blueprint of a house. So it's okay. I think we should use another analogy. We have a blueprint for a car. So a car has some properties like what color it is, what company the car is. Likewise, we have some properties of the car, and we have some functions. So we can use the car to drive. We can use the car to honk. Likewise, we can use functions. So similarly, so these functions inside of a class, they are known as methods. So that's the difference between methods and functions. So methods are basically functions, but they are inside of a class. And using this class, we create objects out of it. So we'll have a blueprint and we create objects out of it. Just like we, do it when we are making a house. First we make a blueprint and then we create the house. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, I think we are almost done here. You guys can share whatever you like from the session on social media. You can use the hashtags Android Study Jams, and you can tag DSCSNU. Okay, so moving on, we also have additional resources. I think okay, so after this session ends, I will send the links on the WhatsApp groups, and you can view the links on your own. So this is the official resources from JetBrains, then online courses, uh, the one blog that I think might be useful, and a collection of books that JetBrains itself suggests. Okay, so audience question and answer round. So the session is almost over. No more additional content for the day. Let's get the questions coming.
That you are on mute.
For how long have I been on mute?
Just few seconds.
Oh, thank God. I don't know why that happened. Okay. So yeah, let's have the question and answer round. And please send your questions right here on the Bevy platform. Don't send them on the Slido app. Please send them here itself. Okay, I see that some people have already sent those questions on the Slido app. So the first question is, sometimes we need a function. Should I display the questions, guys? Okay, Madhav, I'll get to your question in just a second. Uh, First, I'll finish these two questions. So the question is, sometimes we need a function where we can pass n number of parameters and the value of n can be decided at runtime. Will vararg be helpful in such a case? So if we have a function, I don't think you can decide the value of n at runtime and then the function will work accordingly. No, that cannot happen. You will have to use vararg in this case because you cannot determine the value of the number of parameters already, and that is why vararg is very helpful. Yes, so you have to use vararg in this case. How do you take user input? Okay, so give me just a second. So in Kotlin, you can take user input by it's a built-in function just like print line. It's a read line, so it will read a line from the console, and likewise we can. So it's right here. You guys might be able to see. So we have this. So this readline function we can use to get a user input, and then we can do whatever you want to with that. Okay, so let's go with Mahatab's question now. Can you please explain named arguments again? Okay, so named arguments. So uh, just a second. Okay, where was it? Does anybody remember where it was? Okay, so let me just explain it. Yeah,
It's in productivity boosters.
thank you. Okay, so we might have a function. Let me just increase the font size. So it's visible now. Okay, so we might have a function wherein there'll be a number of arguments that you need to get. So in that case, what just happened? Let me reload the page. Okay, so in that case, you will have to remember which parameter goes on what position. So you can be confused if Mario is first, outcome should go first. So in order to avoid that kind of confusion, so this format function, it will look something like this. So we have username, and it's a string, and we'll have a domain, and it is again a string, and it's going to return a string again. So that will be name plus domain. So it will look something like this. And no, actually, it will look a bit different. So we'll have, so we can use the template strings here, username at domain. So it will look like this. So we have here in the third line, we assign the value foo directly to the username, and we do something just like that with domain. We assign bar.com to domain, and in the fourth line we do the same things, but we just interchange the positions of those arguments. So but in this case, there will be no logical error, so it won't give you frog.com at pepe. It will give you pepe at frog.com. But here you can see that when you pass the domain first, it will give you domain.com at username. So in order to avoid this kind of errors, it's advisable if to use named arguments. Guys, Mahatab, is that clear now? Okay, so we have another question from Hriday Pradhan. When is the next session? The next session, it most probably will be on the next Friday, but we'll keep you updated with the timetable when it's decided. So yeah, that's that. Any other questions that you guys might have? Something you might want me to go over again? So are you guys familiar enough with Kotlin now that if I ask you to write some kind of a program, you might be able to write that? Please answer this question. Okay, so if you don't write the fun format line, will it still print the fourth case in right order? So I've written this for sake of explaining only. Must be predefined, but I wanted to show you what the format function is looking like. So it and in named arguments we have to use the exact same name that is used in the function. So if we have, for example, if we have something like this, username with everything in small letters, and if we do this here, it won't work. It will give you an error straight away that it will give you an error. Yeah. Okay, do that Slido thing. Okay, let's do that. So let's create a poll. Um,
Siddharth, I guess we'll put this poll in the WhatsApp group itself because I think most of them have left
oh,
after the
yeah,
Q&A.
that's right. I think that would be a good idea. So, okay, so let's put this poll in the WhatsApp group itself so that everybody can um, vote. Okay, so, and this is where I create the polls. Yeah. Is there something else that I can, or me or Sanskar or Santosh or Meg can help you with? Anyone, anything?
Okay, so we'll wrap up.
Would you
And
like to get, YouTube links for tutorials for Kotlin or even programming in general? Would you like that?
popular
Okay,
question.
so okay, I think okay, so yeah. Okay, guys, so the session is over and you guys can leave now. Sanskar, is there anything that you want to announce
No, not
or
right
anything
now.
that I might have missed out?
The only thing was that
Um,
GitHub thing.
oh,
We'll
so we
be
are getting
soon having a
responses.
GitHub.
Okay, so we'll curate some good videos and send those links in the WhatsApp group itself. Sanskar, you are not audible if you're trying to speak something.
Oh, am I not audible?
Saying that we forgot about we have to do the GitHub thing.
Acha, we had to do that too, right?
So what we'll do is we'll upload a video on
Um,
YouTube and share it to them.
I think everybody has left, so if we,
In the group.
yeah, I think we should do that in the group now. We just have 30 people around here right now. So do we have to go through the study jams course? Okay, so yes, guys, you can, start going through the online courses now as you are familiar with Kotlin now. You won't face, it'll be easier for you. So yes, you can start with the courses. And you can also do the first course, that's Android Basics, I guess. You can also do that if you want, but we are going to continue with the second course. And you guys can definitely ask any questions you have about the first course here, like maybe not in the session, but you can approach any of us, on WhatsApp. Yes, thank you guys. Thanks a lot for being there today. Okay.